Hey, what's up, Brian? This is a quick demo video for you for your Inception. Got this done yesterday. I just didn't have it in me to do one of these last night, so we're going to do this morning. And I won't be testing it with a blade this morning either, because we made this, we utilized the cup in the emitter for a recessed blade, and I don't own a recessed blade, so I am relying on my skills on this one. But we can, you'll see that these LEDs are lighting up and everything's working right. I do have a few reservations about the chassis. This is a provided Goth chassis that you gave me. This is a Goth Eco chassis. I recently did a Goth Master chassis for this guy as well, but it had the same concept that I don't care for very much. So I wanted to spend some time talking about that. This chassis is designed to slide out so that you can access the recharge port. And the Master chassis that I did was also that way. It's designed to slide out so you can access the recharge port and then slide it back in and lock it down. What I don't like about that is, I've got your switch wires coming from the top of this box down into your board. I had to leave enough slack in those wires so that the chassis could be pulled out and back in. But the chassis does not stay clocked, right? That's going to be up to you. And you don't want it to twist. Here, let me just take this off and show you what I mean. So to access everything, you want to take this off right here. And then you've got your Goth chassis right here sticking out. Your recharge port is on this side. You don't see it because you have to pull this guy back. I'm actually using the screw for the Covertech to lock the chassis in place. And you have to loosen that to get to it. So what we want to do here is just come through and we want to loosen up this screw here on the Covertech. Once you loosen that up, you can pull this guy out, and then there is your recharge port right there with your kill key in it. So we're just going to take our finger and pull that out. I drop it every time. Here, there we go. Now, once we've pulled that out, we can then take this guy and put it back in as far as it will go and lock it back down. What you want to be careful though, is this shelf right here, that's the top of your board. So if you can see your board in there, but you want that board even with your switch box when you line it up and you push it back in and you lock it down. You don't want this chassis rotating, and that's what I don't care for very much, is the probability that this guy could rotate like this if you're not paying attention. And then with all these small wires, I've got 28 gauge wires running from your two switches, so there's 4 wires there. I do join the 2 negative wires right before the board so that I can just run to the 1 negative pad for the switches. But you got your 4 wires for your switches. You've got 1, 2, 3 wires for your main PCB all over here, coming across here. And there is a slight wire path for them in the chassis, but it doesn't do a very good job of keeping them in there. And then I had to leave enough slack so you guys, or so that you could pull this out and then pull it back in. So with a little bit of care, like I just showed you, keeping this board in line with the switch box and not letting it rotate this way when you're pulling it out to remove your kill key and then pushing it back in, you'll be fine. But it's stuff like that that I don't, I will never do something like that with my own chassis design, because it can lead to failure for someone who's not very familiar with installs. There's a lot of guys out there that, they're in this hobby. They just like the Lightsaber, they send it out to get installed and they get it back, and then they just want to go to town on it. But sometimes things like these have little things that you need to watch out for, this being one of them. So anyway, I'm done preaching about it. I made your front button here your activation. Then you get a smooth swing. I made your back switch over here your auxiliary. Hold down your power button to turn it off. Sorry, it's not hold down to turn it off, it's tap it. So that's why it wasn't going off on me. We'll turn it back on and then we'll tap it, just like that. I forgot, I gave you gesture controls on here. So when I do gesture controls, it's a tap to turn it off if you choose to use the button. So we'll do that again. Turn it on, and then we'll just tap it, just like that. But if you don't want to use that to turn it on, you could just swing it on. And then twist off. Those are your gesture controls. And then to get to your sound fonts, or I'm sorry, your soundtrack, we'll hold down the activation for a second and then let go. You've got the Obi-Wan on there. And then to turn it off, we do the same thing. Just hold it down for a second and let go. Just like that. And then to get to a different sound font, when the blade is off, just tap your auxiliary button. We're into this stock fonts here. So I'm just going to cycle through them.
Smooth Jedi, smooth gray, smooth fuzz. Teensy, smooth Jedi, smooth fuzz. Teensy, smooth. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Now we're back to Obi-Wan. So that is your saber, the functionality of it. I think if the one thing that I wanted to stress is the chassis removal for your kill key, and then also for charging as well. So when you put this down to charge, you're going to want to just, just a little bit is okay, but you don't want this thing spinning on you. And there's nothing in this saber that I could use to make sure that would stay correctly. I make my own chassis for this guy. That's a fully removable one. And I typically use this guy right here to clock everything correctly. No biggie though, just watch out for that. Shouldn't have any problems. It's just one of those things that I could see being an issue if you don't pay attention to it. So I loosened that again so that I could pull it up just far enough to get to my recharge port. And then I'm going to take my kill key and put it in. This was the provided kill key that came with the chassis, and I did cut it down a little bit so that I would have that clearance right there, so that kill key would slide over past this the booster section and not get caught up, which it was doing originally. So now that we put the kill key in, we'll put that chassis back in the way it needs to be, and then I'll come back here and I'll lock down the screw for the Covertech again. And then that locks down the chassis right there. And then we could take this guy. I also use your provided 28mm speaker. So once that's locked down, we can just take this and slide it right, or screw it right back on. And that's your saber. So please let me know if you got any questions. If not, I'm going to try to get this guy out in the mail to you today. Thanks.